Have you ever felt a shiver run down your spine as you passed by an abandoned house? That strange sensation, as if something or someone was watching you from the darkness? Maybe it was just your imagination, or maybe it wasn't. What would you do if you discovered that some of these houses aren't empty? That they wait? That once you step inside, there is no way back? Many stories begin this way. Curious young explorers. Fearless thrill seekers. Skeptics who believe urban legends are just superstitions. But what if I told you that some stories don't end? That some people go in and are never seen the same way again? You might think this is an exaggeration, a horror tale designed to impress. But the truth is, when certain doors close, they were never meant to be opened again. So before you dismiss this as nonsense, ask yourself, are you really sure you want to know what's on the other side? Because after hearing this story, it may already be too late to forget. People always assume that haunted house stories are just legends, a pastime to scare children, a way to feed the imagination of the easily frightened. But what if I told you that some doors were never meant to be opened? That there are places where time stands still? Where the air grows heavier, and every shadow hides something that should not be there? Have you ever felt that inexplicable chill when passing by an abandoned house? Know this, there is a reason some places are forgotten. They are not empty. They are waiting. Now, imagine receiving an invitation to explore such a house. A group of friends, seeking a thrilling night adventure. It all starts as a game. Laughter echoing through dusty hallways. Flashlights cutting through the darkness. Hearts pounding, not from fear, but from excitement. But then, something changes. A door that was shut is now open. Whispers. Not from anyone in the group. The silence grows heavier, as if the very air is watching. Adrenaline turns to panic when they realize they are not alone. What makes someone ignore the warnings? Curiosity? A need to prove that the supernatural doesn't exist? Or maybe, something darker, as if the house itself calls to those who dare to challenge it. Some believe certain places have an unseen force, one that whispers to the vulnerable. And the worst part? Not everyone who enters comes back out. You'll only understand when you realize the door you walked through is no longer in the same place. At first, everything seems normal. Just an old house. Peeling walls. The scent of damp wood. And a silence that should be ordinary. But then, the details begin to reveal themselves. The cold. Not from the temperature, but from the house itself. The sound of footsteps. Muffled, as if the floor absorbs every movement. And that feeling. That something is there. Watching. Lurking. Waiting. Maybe it's just your imagination. Maybe it's just your brain filling the voids of the unknown. But what if it's not? What if that shiver down your spine is a warning? The first thing to change is time. Minutes inside the house don't pass the same way as they do outside. Your phone's clock may show midnight. But when you check again, only a few seconds have passed. Even though it feels like an eternity. This house. It bends the mind. It twists reality. It makes people question what is real, and what isn't. Objects that seem to be in one place are suddenly somewhere else. A mirror that reflects something that should not be there. A door that creaks open on its own. No wind. No explanation. Just wrong. The tension builds. Until finally, someone says what everyone has been thinking, but no one wanted to admit. Something is wrong here. And then, the sounds begin. At first, subtle. A distant rustling. The soft creak of old wood shifting. But as they venture deeper, the noises take on a life of their own. Footsteps. Above them. Even though everyone is together, standing on the ground floor. Whispers. From the dark hallway ahead. Like something talking to itself. Or worse, calling someone. And the most disturbing sound of all? A voice. A familiar voice. The voice of one of their friends. Coming from a place where they definitely are not. Panic sets in. They try to convince themselves. It's just the wind. It's just an old house settling. But deep down, each of them already knows the truth. They are not alone. They never were. And that is the moment when everything changes. The game is over. The laughter disappears. The air becomes heavy, as if the house itself is breathing, absorbing their presence. Fear takes shape. One starts to sweat. Another feels a crushing weight on their chest. And then, one of them hears their name, whispered, right beside their ear. But no one said anything. Instinct screams, run, get out, now. But then, the real problem, the door they entered through, is no longer there. This is only the beginning. Some houses are forgotten for a reason. Some stories never end. And some places are never truly empty. The first reaction is denial. Someone must have made a mistake, right? The door is there, we're just not looking at it from the right angle. But then, one of them rushes to where the exit should be, and finds only a rotting mold-covered wooden wall. The flashlights tremble in sweaty hands. Eyes meet, searching for a logical explanation. But there is no logic inside this house. What was once discomfort twists into terror. Heartbeats quicken. Breaths become shallow. And then, everyone wants to leave at the same time. They stumble over one another, as if the house itself is laughing at their fear. And then, someone suggests something that, in any other situation, would make sense. Let's go upstairs. Maybe we can get out through a window. But who said going up was a good idea? Who said the second floor was empty? Who said something wasn't already waiting? But the lack of options makes fear a secondary concern. So they climb. The floorboards creak under their weight. The stairs feel steeper than they should. And the darkness swallows their flashlight beams whole. When they reach the second floor, they realize the silence is worse than the noises. No wind. No echoes. Nothing. Only a deep, suffocating emptiness that pulls them in. And then, something happens. A door slams shut, its echo shaking the entire house. One of them screams. Another tries to run, but trips and falls. The flashlights flicker. And for a fraction of a second, something moves in the dark. Something that should not be there. Something that has no face, or maybe too many. The whispers begin again. But now, they don't come from one place. They come from everywhere. As if the walls themselves are whispering. As if the house is speaking. You shouldn't be here. The words are unclear. But the message is not. They are intruders. And this house has no intention of letting them leave so easily. Despair takes over. Someone cries. Someone mutters a prayer. Someone starts laughing, nervously, because the fear is beyond anything they've ever known. But they have to do something. Anything. One of them tries to open a window. The wood crumbles in their hands, as if it had never been touched before. Another tries to break through a wall. But the impact vibrates through the air, as if the house is made of something much denser than just bricks and wood. And then, a horrifying realization settles in. Something that should not be possible. Something that erases all hope. The house is different. The rooms are no longer the same. And the staircase they just climbed is gone. The hallways no longer make sense. The house twists, shifts, like a living thing, rearranging its rooms, to confuse, to trap. The group runs toward where the staircase should be. But there's nothing. Just a cold, damp wall. How is this possible? They are trapped in a space that doesn't obey reality. Now, their fear isn't just about what else might be there with them. It's about the house itself. The flashlights tremble as they try to reorganize, breathe, think. But how do you stay rational when everything around you has lost its mind? They try to retrace their steps, to find the way back. But the rooms are different. The doors lead to places that shouldn't exist. A hallway that never ends. A room filled with furniture, covered in filthy sheets. A kitchen with plates on the table, as if someone had been expecting them. And then, the most terrifying thing of all. Photos on the walls. Photos that weren't there before. Photos of them. Some taken that very night. Who took these photos? How did they get here? The panic rises. The most rational of them tries to keep calm. We have to stick together. But the house has other plans. The first door locks itself shut, separating one of them from the rest. The sound of the bolts sliding into place echoes like thunder. Screams. Fists pounding against the wood. The flashlight on the other side flickers, revealing only flashes of their trapped friend's panic. And then, silence. No more sounds from the other side of the door. No cries for help. Just a crushing emptiness. No one dares to open it. Because deep down, they all know. If they open that door, they might not find their friend anymore. They might find something else. Something that now wears their friend's voice, but is not them. And so, the house's game begins. It separates them, confuses them, weakens them. The hallways stretch endlessly. The doors lead to impossible places. And the whispers. Oh, the whispers now speak directly to them. Secrets they've never shared. Fears they've never spoken aloud. Voices of lost loved ones. Calling, begging them to step into the darkness. And that's when they finally realize. They are not just lost inside a haunted house. They have stepped into something much bigger. Something that feeds on fear. Something that never planned on letting them leave. Fear has already taken hold. They don't scream anymore. There's no point. The house doesn't respond to pleas, doesn't pity their despair. It watches. It plays. It devours every last fragment of sanity they have left. But then, something changes. Among the endless hallways, one of them finds something. A diary, old, its pages yellowed with time. The name on the cover? Unknown. But as they flip through the pages, the truth begins to unravel. This is not just an abandoned house. It never was. It's a graveyard of memories, a tomb for those who dared to enter before them. Each page describes the same pattern, groups who walked in, and never walked out. At first, the handwriting is neat. But as the entries continue, the words become frantic, scrawled in desperation. She is watching me. The hallways change. Do not listen to the voices. The door does not lead outside. The last pages aren't words. They are claw marks, as if the writer had tried to escape through the very paper. And then, at the bottom, one final sentence, written in something that doesn't look like ink. The house doesn't want you to leave. But if you want to survive, do not separate. But it's too late. They look up, and someone is missing. They turn, calling their friend's name. No response. Just that crushing, oppressive silence. What do? Go back to find them? But back where? The rooms are no longer the same. The house twists time, bends reality, like a nightmare they cannot wake from. And then, they hear it. Footsteps. Someone is coming. But the steps are not hurried. Not the frantic, desperate footsteps of someone looking for help. They are slow. Steady. Like whoever is coming already knows exactly where they are. And worse. Like they are not alone. They freeze. The sound gets closer. A flashlight shines down the hallway. And for a split second, they see it. Something shaped like a person. But it doesn't move like one. Its skin is too pale. Its head tilted, as if studying its prey. But the worst part is not what it is. The worst part is that it's wearing their friend's clothes. But it is not them. And when it opens its mouth, there are no words, only a sound. A whisper that echoes down the corridor, like 100 voices speaking at once. Something impossible. Something they understand too late. The house doesn't just trap. It transforms. Run. It's the only thing they can do. Their legs feel heavy, their bodies sluggish. But the need to survive pushes them forward. They tear through the hallways, no plan, no strategy. Just running. Running from whatever their friend has become. But the house doesn't like quitters. Doors slam shut on their own. Furniture groans and shifts. Light bulbs flicker violently. Every hallway leads back to the same place. They scream for each other. But the echo distorts their voices. One of them remembers the diary. The last warning. If you want to survive, do not separate. But that's exactly what the house wants. A shadow moves across the ceiling. Yes. The ceiling. Something is crawling there. Too fast. Too big. There's no time to see what it is. A flashlight goes out. A scream rips through the air. Someone is gone. No struggle. No resistance. Just silence. And that's when they realize they were never in control. They were never intruders. They were prey. The house had already decided their fate before they ever walked in. But then, a chance. A single chance. A door that wasn't there before is open. Without thinking, they run. Is it a trap? Probably. But the alternative is worse. The problem? The door leads downward. To the basement. To somewhere even darker. But there's no choice anymore. They descend, stumbling, falling, swallowed by the blackness. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and rotting wood. The walls are stone. Cold. Ancient. And then they see it. Carved into the walls. Hundreds of claw marks. As if someone, asterisk asterisk or many someones, asterisk asterisk had tried to climb back up. One of them whispers, barely a breath. No one has ever left this place. But something is different. At the end of the basement. A faint, eerie glow. They move closer. A mirror. Huge. Old. Cracked. But with one horrifying detail. The reflection does not show them as they are. It shows them, outside the house. Standing under the moonlight. Safe. Relieved. As if they had already escaped. But they're still here. One of them hesitates. Another reaches out. And then, the mirror pulls them in. One by one. But just before the last one disappears, they see something terrible. Their reflections. The ones that looked free. They were smiling. But it wasn't a smile of relief. It was a smile of something that had been waiting. The impact is immediate. They collapse onto the cold ground, gasping for air. Their hearts racing like they've just surfaced from a nightmare. But, did they make it? The mirror is gone. The house is behind them. Silent. Still. Just another old building under the pale moonlight. They stare at each other, disbelieving. They're dirty, scratched, but alive. Adrenaline still courses through their veins. But for a brief moment. Relief. They laugh, nervously. They hug, cry. They made it. They escaped. But then, something is wrong. First, the sounds. The wind whispers. Not random. Words. Indistinct. Like an echo. Then, the house. It doesn't look old anymore. The broken windows are intact. The peeling paint is fresh. There are lights on inside. But no one lives there. No one should live there. And then, the worst part. They look at each other. And realize. Something in their eyes. Something just off. And finally, they understand. They got out. But, are they still themselves? They try to ignore the feeling. After all, they escaped. Didn't they? What else can they do but move forward? But doubt spreads like slow poison. Small things start to feel wrong. One of them realizes they don't feel cold anymore, even with the freezing wind cutting through the night. Another notices their shadow under the moonlight seems off. Slightly too long. Moving just a fraction too late. No one says anything. Because saying it out loud would mean admitting the impossible. Maybe. They never really left. Days pass. Things don't get better. At first, they try to act normal. They return to their routines. They try to forget what happened. But the house has not forgotten them. The nightmares begin. Dreams where they are still inside. Dreams where they wake up back in the house. Surrounded by the same shadows, the same whispers. And when they wake for real, something is always out of place. A door left slightly open when they remember closing it. A phone with a photo they never took. A reflection in the mirror that, for just a second, smiles. Panic sets in. They meet. They talk. They try to understand. But something is worse than all the rest. One of them doesn't remember. Swears they never entered the house. Laughs it off. Says it's just stories. Just exaggeration. But the others know. He was one of the first to run. One of the first to scream. So, if he truly forgot, who or what came back in his place? The answer seems obvious. But no one dares to say it aloud. Because the most terrifying truth of all is this. The house never let them leave. They try to run from the truth. But the truth follows. Every strange reflection. Every shadow that moves on its own. Every moment when they look at each other and feel, deep down, that something isn't right. The house may be behind them. But its touch remains. They don't speak of it. But they feel it. In the sleepless nights. In the invisible weight on their shoulders. In the creeping, undeniable certainty that they are still being watched. Maybe they never left. Maybe what walked out that night wasn't completely human. But what can they do? Go back? Look for answers? Or accept that some things should never be challenged? Time passes. Some try to move on. Try to pretend nothing happened. But one by one, they start to disappear. One moves away and is never heard from again. Another is found wandering, confused, mumbling about hallways that never end. And then, one of them receives a video. A shaky, dark recording. Someone holding a flashlight. Walking down a hallway they know too well. That hallway. That house. The person in the video is shaking, muttering something incomprehensible. And then, a mirror. And in the reflection, a face. One of them. Still trapped inside. Terrified. Begging to get out. And so, the final truth is revealed. They never left. They never escaped. What walks in the world now are only echoes. Fragments of something the house let out. But the real ones are still inside. Running. Screaming. Searching for a way out. That never existed. And now, the house waits. For the next visitor. For the next fool who ignores the warnings. For the next curious soul who can't resist its call. So if you ever pass by an abandoned house, if you feel a shiver, if you hear a whisper, trust your instincts. Don't go in. You've been warned.